You know how some tech buzzwords are just hype? They pop up, everyone talks about them, and then they just kind of fade away. But every now and then, a term comes along that's different. One that wasn't cooked up in a marketing meeting, but was forged in some seriously intense, real-world friction. Well, today we're going to talk about one of the most powerful and honestly most misunderstood of them all, forward deployed engineering.
So to really get this, our story doesn't start in a comfy Silicon Valley campus. It starts with this quote, "Go there and win. Call if you need anything." Just think about that for a second. That was it. That was the entire briefing given to Mark Shiana, one of Palantir's very first forward-deployed engineers, right before he was sent to a military base near Kandahar, Afghanistan. So, for months, Shiana wasn't sitting at a desk sipping lattes. He was racking servers on classified networks, he was taking helicopter rides in the middle of the night to forward operating bases, and yeah, he was dodging actual rocket fire. I mean, talk about surreal, right? And then, to top it all off, a colleague sends him a blog post from back home that just casually dismisses his job as being nothing more than consultants with fancier titles. And that right there, that disconnect between the reality on the front lines and the chatter back home, that gets to the absolute core of what Forward Deployed Engineering, or FDE, was all about in the beginning. It's about one thing, putting your engineers as close to the actual problem as humanly possible, no matter how messy or how dangerous that environment is.
Okay, so let's fast forward to today. The term FTE has just exploded. A few years ago on Y Combinator's job board, you would have found 0 listings for FTEs. Today, there are over 100. The idea has been cargo culted. You know, it's a concept that's spreading so fast, the original super intense meaning is just getting washed out.
Okay, so the first thing we have to do is draw a really hard line in the sand. On one side, you've got the real deal, forward deployed engineering, a serious, rigorous discipline. And on the other, you have what we're going to call sparkling sales engineering, which is basically a buzzword for a sales role wearing a technical trench coat. They are not the same thing.
So the big question is, how do you actually tell the difference? How do you spot the real deal from the imposter? Well, to help you out, we've broken it down into a simple 4-part acid test.
It's pretty simple, really. If a role doesn't tick all 4 of these boxes, it's not real FDE, period. Let's walk through them. First up, you have to send actual engineers. I'm talking about people who live and breathe code, who open an IDE every single day, not just technical consultants who can talk the talk. Second, the commitment has to be sustained. A quick little fly-in, fly-out visit for a few days, that doesn't count. We're talking about weeks, sometimes months, of deep, on-the-ground immersion. Number 3, and honestly, this is the real litmus test, the engineer has to be empowered with autonomy. This whole idea is based on a military concept called Auftragstaktik, which basically means HQ sets the big objective, go there and win, but all the tactical decisions on how to get it done are delegated to the team in the field. And last but not least, number 4, the field has to feed the product. FDEs aren't just there to install software. They are a living, breathing feedback loop, finding problems and patterns that need to get built back into the core product.
Now that 4th rule, feed the product, is maybe the most important one of all, because it's what separates a real product company from just being a services shop in disguise. So let's look at how this system actually works, how you turn all that messy in the field work into a polished, scalable product. So Bob McGrew, who is an early exec at Palantir, has this perfect analogy for it. It all starts with building a demo on the customer's real data. This isn't some hypothetical PowerPoint, it's showing them what's possible right now, and that creates real desire. Then the FDE gets to work building what he calls a gravel road. It's not pretty, it's not perfect, but it's a fast, functional path to get the job done. The job for the product team back home is to look at that gravel road, abstract the pattern, and then finally pave it into a superhighway by building it right into the core platform.
And this table just lays it all out, right? It's the perfect way to see the difference. On the one hand, when this FDE loop is working, you see things getting faster. The time to get a new customer up and running plummets. You literally see code written in the field getting merged into the main product. But on the other side, the dark side, you're just stuck in a loop, rebuilding custom solutions over and over with a backlog for implementations that's way bigger than your actual product backlog. That's a services shop.
All right, so this all sounds amazing, right? A perfect feedback loop. But this is where we hit the brutal, unforgiving reality of the FDE model. It's powerful, for sure, but man, it is painful and incredibly expensive to run.
Let's just talk cold, hard cash for a second. Palantir's former CFO didn't mince words. He said that trying to do FDE on small contracts is like lighting equity on fire. Bottom line, you need deals in the 7-figure range minimum just to break even on this.
You're embedding elite engineers, the kind of people who could be making a killing at Google or Meta, and that is not cheap.
But honestly, the money isn't even the hardest part. There's a cultural cost that most companies just can't stomach. The source material calls it a gag reflex to this kind of model. It requires flipping your org chart upside down, showing radical deference to teams in the field. It means you have to be okay with ambiguity, with messy code, with things not going according to a neat and tidy roadmap. Most corporate cultures just can't handle that level of chaos.
Okay, so given the insane costs and the massive cultural pain we've just talked about, how in the world do you decide if this high-risk, high-reward strategy is actually the right move for your company?
It really boils down to a gut check, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself about these 4 questions. First, cost. Can you really afford to pour money into this now for a payoff that might be 5, maybe even more years down the road? Second, talent. Can you genuinely recruit and keep these unicorns, these elite engineers who can code, sell, and read a room? Third, headcount. Are you prepared to run what on paper looks like a pricey services org pretty much forever? And finally, investors. Can you stand in front of your board and sell a story of short-term pain on your margins for a massive, long-term competitive advantage?
Look, let's be real. Forward-deployed engineering is not for most companies. It's not a casual strategy you just decide to try. It demands a huge amount of capital, an incredible amount of patience, and a very, very high tolerance for pain. It's a choice to put your most talented, most expensive people in the messiest, highest-stakes situations you can find. So you have to decide what game you're playing. And if you decide this is it, you have to go all in. There are no half measures here. You commit.